Top 50 upcoming games in 2024. This will be a very bad year for gaming. Perhaps top 3 worst gaming years in the last 40 years. So that's the bad news. What's the good news? I prepared 50 upcoming games for you to check out and find something that you can play in this 2024. I rely a lot on the indie industry because, let's be real, guns out blazing in 2022 and 2023 had to lead to something like 2024 where we don't get any games at all, or everything that we get is gonna be some microtransaction garbage. These would be my top 50 most anticipated games in 2024. It took me days and days of research and then a full day to compile all of these games and give you the full upcoming list for 2024. So please like, share the video and subscribe. Let's not waste time. Let's go. The very first one in line would be Hades 2. It feels more like a DLC for Hades 1. Truth to be told, you just play with a different protagonist, but the game looks exactly the same. No matter, it's one of the best roguelites in the last 5 years, Hades 1. And I guess Hades 2 is also gonna be amazing. The game should come out during 2024 in its early access. I guess it's gonna be available on Epic Games again earlier than on Steam, and it's worth playing, okay, because there's a lot of fans of Hades right now, and this is one very popular upcoming title. The next game in line would be Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. So it counts as a Souls-like hack and slash third-person action RPG, or better to say Souls-like. Me, personally, I checked some gameplay for Flintlock and it reminds me more of some AA version of God of War and God of War Ragnarok. This would be a God of War from AliExpress. Okay, that's what it is basically. Now, does it mean that it's bad in comparison to God of War? No, it's gonna be a solid game, I guess, especially those that like female protagonists. That's their main character. This game should also come out in third quarter of 2024. The next game is not actually a game, it's a DLC for Elden Ring, and I believe its name is Shadow of the Earth 3. We still don't know what From Software plans to do with the game, but I guess they're gonna add a lot of additional content and another reason to replay Elden Ring, as well as its upcoming DLC. We all know that Elden Ring is one of the most popular games in the world, and I guess the DLC is gonna be exactly the same as the original game. Amazing, Souls-like, if not the best Souls-like ever created. Now here is one gem, Contra Operation Galuga. I spent my childhood playing Contra and Contra 2 back in early 90s. And this game, it would be exactly the same. It looks like a remaster of the 90s, but with modern graphics. It's gonna be a very short game as well, with co-op, with everything that you want, basically from a 2D side-scroller platformer shooter. Also, I guess it's gonna be quite challenging and very good for speed runners. The next game would be Blade Chimera, or better to say, one indie Metroidvania. It looks very old school, okay, for those that play every single Metroidvania like I do. I guess you won't skip on Blade Chimera, yeah. The next game, you guessed well, it's ZAoS from Obsidian. Or better to say, Obsidian's version of Skyrim in Pillars of Eternity world. Okay, that's what the game is. Now, how's the game? How it's gonna be, whether it's gonna be great or just another mediocre Skyrim copycat, that's a good question. Judging from the previous game from Obsidian, Space, the one in Space, whatever the name was. I think the name was Outer Space. Judging by that game, it was 20% exploration, okay, 60% looting, and 20% combat. If they stick to the same concept, it's gonna be a very boring game. Okay, Obsidian should do a CRPG, Pillars of Eternity 3. Now, Avowed is the most hyped game of 2024. Okay, one of the most hyped out games in 2024. I don't have big expectations, and I know a lot of people do. I just don't. I don't like what I see, and I believe that it's gonna be a failure. Would love that the game becomes great along the way, but I doubt it's gonna happen, to be honest. Let's be real, man. Skyrim with mods looks 10 times better. Do not overhype Avowed so you don't end up disappointed. The next game would be Ara, History Untold, or better to say, the game that reminds me a lot on Civilization games. Okay, maybe a slightly easier version of Civilization games, or better to say, a more user-friendly real-time strategy. I get it, people are hungry for RTS. There's very few of them, especially the good ones, and maybe you're gonna find your happiness into History Untold. The next one, Black Myth, Wukong. What is there to say about it? Everyone knows about the game. Upcoming Souls-like, where you play as Wukong. If you don't have enough of that Wukong in League of Legends, here is a Souls-like with Wukong. The game looks absolutely amazing. It's mega fast-paced Souls-like with a lot of moves, a lot of combo sets, a lot of cool bosses, as far as I could tell from the gameplay trailers and from other trailers. It is, for a reason, one of the most anticipated games of 2024. If this goes down the toilet, which I doubt, but if it goes down the toilet, then the year of 2024 is a complete wreck. I really doubt that's gonna happen. This is gonna be a great game. And now, the most anticipated game of 2024 by far. Everyone is talking about it. Dragon's Dogma 2. Everyone is hyping the game out, even though they never got to play Dragon's Dogma 1. They just seen, like 90% of people only seen some gameplay on YouTube from Dragon's Dogma 1. They don't even know how to play the game. They do not know how freaking sluggish Dragon's Dogma 1 was in the first 30 hours. Because let's be real, the game opens up and gets better and better after 40-50 hours, okay? Very few people had patience to play that much, and they just scrapped Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma wasn't even that good when it came out in vanilla, okay? No one even knew about the game, truth to be told. I played it on day one, and I really believe, from what I've seen from the trailers, that Dragon's Dogma 2 is gonna be a much better version of Dragon's Dogma 1. This is more like a classic open world Souls-like. It reminds me a lot on Elden Ring. The next game would be Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. For those that enjoy cinematic games, okay, games with a lot of cinematics, this is gonna be one very solid movie-like experience. What is there to say about this one? It's a classic single player, I can call it RPG, okay, from the third person perspective, where you slay ghosts, and ghosts mostly. What you can expect out of it is high quality cutscenes, high quality voice acting. I truly doubt that it's gonna be a long game, by the way. This is gonna be a short, movie-like experience. And now comes the Hollow Knight copycat called Crowsworn. The game that's going to be, judging by everything that I've seen, the gameplay, the trailers and everything, is going to be absolutely amazing and probably one of the best Metroidvanias ever created. The only downside, it's really a ripoff of Hollow Knight in colors, in gameplay, in combat, in everything. Okay, it's a classic ripoff, but thank God it exists, because very few games are ripping off Hollow Knight for some reason. I can't understand why everyone should do it. If everyone can rip off Souls-likes, then why not rip off Hollow Knight? Yeah. Anyways, Crowsworn is one of my favorites for 2024. Speaking about Hollow Knight and speaking about rip-offs, here's the original Hollow Knight Silksong. Coming out for the last 5 years, I really believe it's going to happen this year finally, in 2024. I can't wait for it, and of course it's a must play, probably strong game of the year contender, no matter if it comes out 2024 or 2025, but let's hope it's gonna come out in 2024 finally so we can play it. The next game would be Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. Man, this game, it entered and cancelled its production 5 times already. Developers switched. I don't even know what happened over there with the devs, but they can't decide what it wants it to be, whether it wants to be Stalker, whether it wants to be Metro Exodus, okay? And the game is finally coming out in 2024. How it's gonna be, I don't have high hopes for it, to be honest. I think it's gonna be worse than Stalker 1, but let's wait and see. Anyways, it's worth mentioning that Stalker 2 is coming out this year. 11 years ago came out The Wolf Among Us. In 2024, we're getting The Wolf Among Us 2. What is there to say about it? Telltale Games, classic story-driven adventure. First part was great. I don't have any doubts that the second part will be great as well. I believe The Wolf Among Us 2 is already on Epic Store, by the way. The next one would be Helldivers 2. For those that like games in co-op, especially third-person shooters, here comes the Helldivers 2. I believe it's going to be trash, but it's worth mentioning it, that it's coming out in 2024, and it's coming out very soon, like in 6 days from when I recorded this video from now. Helldivers 2 is basically there so you can relax your brain, have fun with friends while playing in co-op and nothing else, okay? The game is gonna be straight up mediocre shooter. Speaking about shooters, Space Marine 2 Warhammer 40k. I have high hopes. This is one of my most anticipated games for 2024. It's gonna be short, I guess a bit longer than Space Marine 1, but it's gonna be a short third-person shooter. Anyways, you will fight Tyranids in Space Marine 2. The game looks amazing. I hope they can optimize the game, that is gonna be bug-free when it comes out now in 2024, because it was already delayed once from 2023. So it should be a great game. I really have high hopes for this one, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun out of it. What it is in short, it's a third-person classic old-school shooter covered in beautiful graphics. And now comes one new upcoming Metroidvania for 2024 named Mandragora. Mandragora is the Metroidvania that I personally like a lot. Mandragora is a very dark game, it looks great. I really hope it won't lack in gameplay, and I hope to be at least 20 hours long Metroidvania with some good replay value. Funny thing is how they advertise the game as a Souls-like. It's a Metroidvania, but when they say Souls-like, that means it's gonna sell well, because every next game these days is a Souls-like. I mean, this ain't a Souls-like, this is a Metroidvania. The next game would be Manor Lords. Manor Lords is one medieval open world strategy. Okay, for those that enjoy strategies, for those that enjoy building stuff, creating villages, towns, armies, and so on, it's going to be great, I guess. Also, it's gonna be available day one on a Game Pass. Again, this is the game for specific tastes. Not everyone will even be aware of something like Manor Lords, but it's worth mentioning. I'm covering all gaming genres after all. Now, speaking about strategies, we're going from medieval straight up into cosmos, straight up into space with Homeworld 3. If you don't know what's Homeworld, it's one very old strategy, one of the very first 3D strategies that came out back in early 2000s. It was ground control and homeworld. Ground control on the ground, homeworld in the space. Now this game is getting its third part, finally, after God knows how many decades. For those that enjoy strategies, this is gonna be it. The next game would be Aeterna Lucius. You already know my opinion about Aeterna Noctis. Aeterna Noctis is probably the best Metroidvania that I played in my life, and Aeterna Lucius is basically Aeterna Noctis 2. In Aeterna Noctis you were playing as a King of Darkness, now you're gonna play in Aeterna Lucius as the Queen of Light. the game is going to be amazing. Judging by Aeterna Noctis, we are again up to a 100 hours long Metroidvania with brutal platforming and brutal bosses. All of my hopes for 2024 are in Aeterna Lucis. At least 60% of my hopes for this year are on this game. And now, for the real gamers, for those that play video games and have time to play video games from 8 to 16 hours a day, here is Path of Exile 2, probably the best game in 2024 and beyond. Let's be real, it's gonna have seasons, same like in Path of Exile 1. It looks amazing, it plays amazing, it has no endgame, okay, I mean, it has huge endgame, it's never ending. Alright, if you search for a game to suck out your life and to play no other game but one game for the rest of your life, here we go, it's Path of Exile 2. Play it, I guess, but be advised, this will suck the life out of you. It is by far the biggest game of the year contender and probably a winner even now. The next game would be a shock-like from In Exile Entertainment, a game from Brian Fargo himself. Clockwork Revolution. After CRPG, that was Wasteland 3, we are getting a shock-like. Imagine that, what a drastic change. The game looks nice, considering that I know that all of the Fargo games had amazing writing and amazing storytelling. I guess Clockwork Revolution will also have a lot of comedy, a lot of great moments, okay? Basically it's gonna be a great game with great voice acting, great soundtrack, probably like 20 to 30 hours long shock-like. Perhaps it's gonna be one of the biggest and most pleasant surprises in 2024. Yet another game from Aeterna Studios, the creators of Aeterna Noctis and Samum Aeterna and the upcoming Aeterna Lucis. This time it's Eden Genesis. It has nothing to do with Aeterna world. Eden Genesis is basically a classic 2D side-scroller platformer. This game was created for those that enjoy speedruns. Okay, it's a platformer, a very hard platformer. The next game is already available. It's called Outcast Tales: The First Journey. Basically, this is a turn-based roguelike with huge replay value. What is the best thing about this game? It's the only free-to-play game on my list. The next game would be Last Epoch, coming out very soon. So basically this game is coming out in the middle of Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2. It's gonna stump Diablo 4, because Diablo 4 is an absolute trash. I can't even call Diablo 4 an action RPG, it's more like a MMO RPG, but Last Epoch is a classic old school action RPG, or better to say, a real Diablo-like. What's the downside of the Last Epoch? It's gonna get crushed by Path of Exile 2 when Path of Exile 2 decides to come out in 2024. Until then, you can satisfy your needs with Last Epoch. How do people promote Last Epoch? Okay, it's not as stupefied and easy as Diablo 4, and it's not as complex as Path of Exile, so it's somewhere in between. The next game would be Pioneer. What is Pioneer? It's some strange mix of Stalker and Metro games. Okay, that's what it is basically in short, only this is an MMO RPG, so yes, it will have multiplayer as well. Stalker, or better to say, Metro games with multiplayer. That's what the game is. And now comes my most anticipated game in 2024. It's coming out soon. It's King Arthur Legion 9. Or better to say, this is a DLC for King Arthur. King Arthur was an amazing turn-based Darkest Dungeon-like RPG. Legion 9 will offer a lot of new content, a brand new campaign for an already great game with an end game, okay, with a non-stop seasons and updates. This is going to be simply one amazing game. If you haven't played King Arthur, go ahead and play right now so you can join when Legion 9 comes out. I can't wait for it. This could end up as my game of the year. for 2024. The next game would be yet another Metroidvania, indie Metroidvania called Earthblade. Earthblade looks like a very short Metroidvania, but that's life. I have to put some solid games into this top 50, and Earthblade deserved its spot from what I've seen from the trailers and from the gameplay. Now the next game, No Rest for the Wicked, comes from Moon Studios, the creators of Ori games. Only this time it's not a Metroidvania, imagine it's an action RPG, okay? A cinematic-like action RPG. It could be a very pleasant surprise for 2024. No Rest for the Wicked looks very promising. The next game goes to strategy lovers, or better to say for those that enjoy medieval strategies. The name of the game would be Crown Wars: The Black Prince. Yet another turn-based strategy. Speaking about turn-based strategies, we got Beast: False Prophet. Again, another turn-based gothic medieval game. This one looks a tad bit slightly better than the previous game that I showed. Truth to be told, for me personally, this reminds me of a weaker version of King Arthur. And now comes one very unique game, The Inquisitor. If you want to play something really unique, then it would be The Inquisitor. The game looks absolutely amazing. I like this innovation in a game. It has a lot of puzzles, it has combat, it's a adventure with great storytelling. Okay, it seems like it's gonna be fully voice acted as well. It's gonna be refreshing to play something like this. Of course, this is a AA or indie title, okay, so don't expect something amazing in terms of graphics, but still it looks quite good. Also, the game is coming out in 6 days from when I'm recording this video, so very soon we're gonna play The Inquisitor. The next game would be Legendary Hoplite, coming out in 3 hours from when I'm recording this video. Better to say, as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm gonna play Legendary Hoplite. Okay, what it is, it's a roguelite and it's a tower defense roguelite. You play as a hoplite and as well you build different defenses against upcoming waves of monsters trying to defend some unique artifact or whatever the hell it is. It doesn't even matter. This should be 2 to 3 days of fun, straight up gameplay only. And now comes Lysfanga, the Time Shift Warrior. Or better to say, we got one action RPG from isometric perspective, or should I say hack and slash. It looks like a fun indie game, that's all you need to know. And it looks like it's gonna be cheap and it's coming out very soon. The next game is not a new game, it's actually a remaster of Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3. The game from 90s is getting a full remaster with better graphics. If you haven't played Tomb Raider 25 years ago, if not even more, here is the perfect opportunity to play Lara Croft in her original. The next game would be the Thaumaturge, or better to say, this would be a story-rich, isometric, turn-based RPG. It looks innovative, it looks fun, it looks grim, it looks dark. This game could come as quite a surprise for 2024, coming out in 18 days from now. And now, for those that like crafting stuff and those survival games, comes the Nightingale. If you are into that type of games, okay, I guess you don't wanna miss on Nightingale. It looks great. And I guess you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. It's an open world, survival, I can call it an RPG, yeah. The next game would be Zoria, Age of Shattering, a classic isometric turn-based RPG. Could be good or not. Anyways, I have to mention it because it looks promising. The next game comes for those that only like gameplay in their games without storytelling and stuff. We got Death of a Wish, or better to say, a classic isometric hack and slash RPG. A very good thing about this game, you can download and test out the demo whether you wanna play this game or not. It's your choice. Worth mentioning for 2024. And now comes the game called Slavania. Metroidvania in a fairy tale world with a lot of bosses and a lot of platforming. I don't know how it's gonna turn out to be. We'll wait and see, but it's worth mentioning that it's coming out And now, of course, for those that like women power, strong women, and so on, comes up the new agenda. I mean, from the PlayStation to PC, Horizon Forbidden West, aka Complete Edition. I don't know, if you enjoy games like this, it's worth mentioning. Whether I like it or not, I have to mention that it's coming out, yeah, so women power. And now comes one very unique old school game called FtSoD. FtSoD is a turn-based isometric RPG. They also pronounce this game as a JRPG because combat is from the first person perspective while exploration goes into the isometric perspective. It has a very unique art style, it's a unique game, I guess it's worth checking out. And now we got another Metroidvania, this time a cartoonish girly style Metroidvania, Nevergrave, The Witch and the Curse. Why I did it? Because it looks great, art style is great actually. And it might be worth checking out, and also it should come out in the first quarter of 2024, so it's coming up soon. Now, they pronounce this game as a Metroidvania and as a roguelike. They need to decide what it is. Is it a Metroidvania or a roguelike? To me personally, it looks more like a roguelike, but let's wait and see when it comes out. And now comes one real-time strategy, Godsworn. Godsworn looks to me a lot like old school real-time strategies from back in early 2000s. Okay, so for those that enjoy games like that, I guess it's worth checking it out. And now we got one extremely dark Metroidvania, Skeletron, The Chronicles of Ericona. I don't know what you think about it, that they promote it as a Souls-like, as a dark fantasy, as a difficult game, so everything that I like, plus it's a very dark game. This game could be a big surprise for 2024. It really looks interesting. And now comes one XCOM-like, or better to say Interregnum Chronicles False Prophet. For those that enjoy XCOM-like games, this is a must-play, I guess. The next game would be Shadow of the Depth, or better to say, one isometric indie action roguelike. It looks interesting, to be honest. It looks hard. I really hope it's gonna end up well, coming out in the second quarter of 2024. Also, you can test out the game right now because demo is available and it's free to play. That would be all the games for 2024. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.